Hello, welcome. I have a project that I've been working on. Right this way. Follow me. Right now, you're probably wondering who I am and exactly what kind of a contraption I'm sitting in. I'll identify myself for now as just a traveler, and I'm sitting in a time machine. I know, it sounds a bit like Steven Spielberg, but let me back up and explain my story. Well, one day, I was helping to clean out my great-grandfather's house for a quick real estate sale. I came across an old, dusty travel case belonging to my great-grandfather. When I opened up my great-grandfather's travel case to find notebooks, one of them being a log of sorts, detailing some of his work experiments. One section of this log in particular, labeled Scalar Wave Generator for Time Displacement, really kind of jumped out at me. It contained detailed descriptions, sketches, and basically blueprints for the construction of this scalar wave vortex generator. Well, that was all I needed. I jumped right in to try to recreate one of my great-grandfather's experiments. Who knows, maybe I could even sell this device on eBay. Well, it soon became apparent that this device was no simple lab tool, but a Ferrari-sized machine with a cockpit and a seat for an operator, sitting in front of a spinning vortex generator and controlled by a funky, but for his time, state-of-the-art control panel. I went to work securing the needed materials and engineering the components. Following Great-Grandpa's logbook was relatively easy. The base for the vortex generator consisted of a copper dish studded with extremely powerful magnets. Recycling an old satellite dish and lining it with copper proved to be a time saver, as well as a 21st century improvement on old Great-Grandpa's design. Not only would this baby create a scalar wave vortex, but I could also probably pick up high-def Planet Earth episodes, as well as Ultimate Fighting Championships on the dish, when not in use as a vortex blender. Most of the work was relatively straightforward thanks to Great-Grandpa's description and precise drawings. Finding the proper crystals and brass components turned out to be a challenge. Most of the materials were just not to be found at Home Depot. You couldn't get by with an old cut glass doorknob on this baby. We're talking Swarovski crystal. After a bit of Victorian-flavored artistic detailing, this machine was ready for a test drive. But what would it do? Well, I had to find out. I assembled the device in the only large space I could find at the time, since my garage was being taken up by a 1981 DeLorean that I was trying to restore. My buddy lent me some space in a closed storefront that he owned downtown on Main Street. It used to be a bicycle shop and it had a nice display window facing the street. The finished machine must have looked cool sitting in the window, because at times it felt like I was in a George Pal movie with people gawking at me. Anyway, very early one morning, I climbed into the machine and I inserted the control lever. Great-Grandpa's logbook did not give much detail on how to operate this thing, so basically, I slowly pulled back the lever and waited to see what would happen. The machine started making a vibrating noise, and the dish started spinning. As the speed increased, I started feeling slightly dizzy and lightheaded. I noticed on the control panel in front of me that the date display was changing. Looking out the display window into the street, I started seeing bizarre things. The motions of the people and the cars started to speed up, but in reverse. It was almost like watching an old science fiction movie with cheesy special effects. My lightheadedness was getting worse, and I may have momentarily blacked out or phase shifted or something. I slowed the machine down and stopped it. Something had happened. Something had changed drastically. I was still looking out over Main Street, but it was different. Being an antique automobile enthusiast, I recognized right away that I was no longer watching 2004 vehicles pass by, but 1904-era vehicles were now moving down Main Street, decorated for a parade of some sort. The people, their clothing, their signs, sounds, and everything was 1904. I glanced down at the control panel and I could not believe it. It read 1904. I had traveled back in time. My great-grandfather had invented a time machine and I was taking it for a spin, so to speak. Well, at this point, I decided to quickly return to 2004 to make sure that I could return in one piece. I slowly pushed the lever forward and watched as the bizarre effects repeated. I slowly but surely returned to August of 2004. Well, that's my story. And here I sit in a time machine. Over the years, I've been slowly getting used to the machine and taking short jaunts forwards and backwards in time. At this point, I'm a little bit upset. Earlier today, I traveled back in time to find my great-grandfather. I located him easily enough, but to my horror, a terrible mishap occurred, and I accidentally killed him when the horse I was riding suddenly reared and trampled him. Not knowing what to do, I panicked, and I returned back to the present time. Now I know what you're thinking, but as far as I know, this incident has not affected anything in the present time. Woo! What was that all about? Well, I think I'll take another jaunt into the future. I've met this wonderful girl named Weena. Or is it Tina? Well, anyway, I think we've made a connection. Well, you know what they say. Time waits for no man.